Hi, my name is Alexis. I'm the avoidant therapist. This video is the first video in my new series called Anxious Avoidant Bridging the Gap. If you feel like you care too much or you often need space, while your partner feels the opposite, this is for you. You're not alone. These patterns are more common than you think. In this series, I'll help you understand what's going on, why it feels so hard, and how you can build more safety and connection together. Let's get started. There's a saying, opposites attract each other. In reality, when you study psychology, when you read the literature around attachment, it's more about opposite reenact a pattern. Let me explain. First of all, about 40 to 50% of adults have insecure attachment style. That's why the anxious avoidant dynamic is very common. It's not just you, it's very common amongst all relationships. Now, I would actually say, this is a personal view, but I would actually say that even secure have a tendency to be anxious avoidant. If you look around you and people you know who feel they have a secure attachment style, you would see, or you can discuss with them, when they argue, when they disagree on things, one will be leaning towards an avoidant pattern, the other one anxious pattern. The difference is how they solve and repair. And this is why I want for you to develop that secure attachment style, because if you have this attachment and have those patterns in place, the relationship satisfaction will be equivalent to secure. I'm not making this up. Studies have shown that a secure relationship has the same satisfaction level as secure, insecure. Now, the problem is when you have insecure, avoidant, anxious. Now, about attraction, it feels magnetic. You're drawn to this pattern. If you're anxious, you're attracted to people who are not available, right? Again, it doesn't make sense. You don't want to be in a relationship where someone who's not available, but somehow you're attracted to this person. So it's not, it feels magnetic. It's not magnetic. It's a pattern, okay? And the point is for you to recognize this pattern and stop that repetition. The pattern is unconscious, and we'll discuss in a second how it works. And the point here is to decode this pattern, break away from this pattern, and creating new pattern, more secure response in your relationship. Obviously, everything started in childhood. John Bowlby, the psychologist who came up with this attachment theory, highlight that the way we interact with our parents or caregivers will shape how we behave with our primary attachment figure, i.e. our partner. So the primary attachment figure in childhood, we will behave the same way, more or less, with our primary attachment figure, our partners, in adulthood. And Ainsworth created this famous experiment analyzing and coming up with the three major attachment styles: secure, insecure, avoidant, analyzing how babies react when they are separated to their mother. Now, a very interesting study that I found out, and again, all the sources of my work are in the description on my website. 45% of our attachment is coded in our DNA. So the thing is, there's an element of nature and nurture in how we build intimacy. Now, when you think about hold on, if it's in my DNA, I won't be able to change. It's more complex than that, because now with advance in epigenetic, we know that actually we can influence our genes, and it will have a little effect on how we can build that secure attachment style if we do the right thing. So the thing is, what happens is that we learn a certain way, right? We learn that our definition of intimacy, our definition of relationship is very much in line with the definition we received as a child when we were with our parents. The problem is, when you date someone avoidant or anxious, if you're the opposite attachment, their definition, their view of intimacy, their view of relationship will be almost opposite. Now, the problem is, and that's a problem in relationship more broadly, not in terms of attachment, we often think that we're right? Because we used to do things like this. Right? And so the point is, we feel the way we interact with people is the right way and it's the safe way, right? Because the thing is, we develop these insecurities as a response, as a coping mechanism. So for instance, I developed an avoidant attachment style because I realized that anytime someone will confront me, anytime something was difficult, withdrawing, escaping the situation will actually help me out. That's a very immature response to deal with things when you're 7, 10 or 12 and you feel like, okay, I managed to sneak out and nobody sort of said anything. It's working. And the thing is, you create those patterns years and years thinking like it's working out for me. Then you end up in relationships. You end up as an adult and you have to deconstruct those things and realize actually that's not the way to deal with relationship. That's not the way to deal with situation. So the thing is, right now, understand that it's not so much about a fate or something you can't change. It's an influence and we're going to work out at breaking this influence and, as I said, rewriting the way we do things. When we look at attraction from a neuropsychology point of view, it's very much addiction. Candy Crush, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you know Candy Crush. A very, very popular game. I think it's one of the most profitable game ever because it's not because of the colors, it's not because it's candies, it's because of the way it's designed. Anytime you start a new game, you don't know exactly what will be the outcome. So it's not about like a game because you need to think, because you need to be strategic. It's because the outcome is unpredictable. That's how you design, that's how they design slot machines. That's how you design any form of games that can become addictive. And Candy Crush, they were really great. I think if you read the story of their game, most of the engineering there is done by people who worked in casino. So their point was not to create an entertaining and engaging game. They wanted it to be addictive. So addictive that you will pay a lot of money to finish the game. And so what happens when it comes to addiction and attraction, it creates dopamine spikes. Okay, so when you play a game, when you play a slot machine, because you have this inconsistency, you crave the spike. Okay, anytime you have the outcome that you desire, you crave that spike. And actually, in Candy Crush, there's another element: is all the animation gives you that dopamine spike. So that's why there's a lot of things flashing on the screen. It's to give you that dopamine spike, and it's called intermittent reinforcement. Will create a connection. So in relationship, that's what will reinforce the bond with your partner. The stories anxious are telling themselves is maybe this time they'll stay. The story avoidant is too close, I need air. You see, you have two different narratives that are starting clashing to each other. When the avoidant withdraws, you get this intermittent reinforcement, reinforcing this story of I need, maybe they'll stay, they're gonna leave me. So the thing is, what happens in your brain is that it's the nervous system that thinks it's survival. It's a nervous system telling you it feels familiar. Because let's say the example of someone who has an anxious attachment style. I had to fight for my parents' attention when I was little. I had to fight for my parents' attention because of my siblings, because they were working hard, because they were tough on me. And I desperately wanted them to stay around, to be proud of me, to tell me they were proud of me, because I didn't feel confident enough. What happens is, if you have this sort of pattern and you start a relationship with someone avoidant, they won't give you that reassurance. And in a way, unconsciously, you're driven to these people who are helping you, which is not helping you to feel better, but helping you to reinforce this narrative. So it's not love, it's chemistry. Again, it's done at the nervous system about what feels familiar. What feels familiar is not necessarily what is healthy. And as adults, we have the responsibility, I wanted to say ability, we have the responsibility to finally figure out what things that we took from our childhood, the things that are helpful, the things that are not helpful. And that's what I want you to do in this series, is really filtering in and out and using the right methodology to override the insecure patterns. And actually, I forgot to mention, I will put together a worksheet just for this video series that you can download in the description of this video. This picture is very famous. Maybe you can pause the video if you've never seen this picture. I want you to tell me or reflect on what you see. How old is the woman on this picture? If you know this picture, you know the game. There are actually two women in this picture, one very young and one very old. Interestingly enough, when I search for this image, studies have shown that the older you are, the older the woman you see. I think by sort of a 10 years margin. The idea of this image is that if you're in a room where 50% of people see the old woman, 50% of the room sees a young woman, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. But we are seeing things differently. There's a point of view that is different. And that's the problem you have when you're dealing with an avoidant partner, when you have an anxious attachment style. The push-pull loop that hurts. As I discussed before, when you have an anxious attachment style, you're scared of rejection. You protest. In the book attached, Levin referred them as protest behaviors. What happens when avoidants feel pressure? They withdraw. They ask for space. Engulfment is the idea of pressure. It's the idea of I'm going to lose my identity in the relationship. And the problem is, those two behaviors will prove I was right to be scared he will withdraw because he's withdrawing or she's withdrawing. I was right believing that relationship is too much because she's asking me or he's asking me too much or he has asked me something I can't give him. And so the thing is, you end up in that reality where you have two things, two narratives that are both right and wrong. And that's the challenge. You're not wrong, but you're not right at the same time, and your partner is the same. You have your own narrative. You have your own way of looking at things. Right? And that's why sometimes you don't feel seen, you don't feel safe in the relationship. I said at the beginning, the right relationship is the relationship where we feel safe. People think, oh, the right relationship is the one where I feel the butterflies in my belly. And no, it's important to, but as I said, chemistry is dangerous. Chemistry is not the right sort of criteria to assess the relationship. Safety is. So, for example, if you broke up with your partner and you want to assess whether you can get back together, you need to assess the safety. Do I feel safe? Do I feel understood? Right, in this relationship. If you can't answer yes, but if you're not sure about yes, actually it's a sign, but if you can't answer yes, that's not the right relationship. And so the thing is, what you have to understand is we have this hope of it's going to work out, we're going to work on things. Sometimes the breakup might slow the process. The point here is to change the cycle. And that's what I want to do in this series. And again, use this work. I released this for free on YouTube because I really want to help people, get unstuck on those patterns. So please do the work. Use it. Just don't be passive listening to me. I know sometimes it's reassuring and you learn things. Great. Do something about it. It's very important for you to take action when you do and read things. The good news is you are not the pattern. As I said, it's a programming thing. Sometimes people feel like, oh, I'm too emotional. Oh, I'm not emotional. It's not a personality. It's a programming. It's something that was hardwired in your brain. My job is to help people develop a secure attachment style. I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have clients if that was not possible. I wouldn't have any success stories if that was not possible. And I wouldn't have done it myself. So I'm also the proof that it's possible with the right interventions. Now, the way I developed my secure attachment style, I don't think it was the most optimal way because it took me years and thousands of dollars in therapy. I think now with advanced in research and methodology, and with the right targeted approach, it's a question of weeks more than years. The point here is finding ways for you to update your patterns. So awareness, learning about your attachment style, watching videos, etc. The point now, once you have this awareness, is learning how you can co-regulate and not co-trigger. You know, I said at the beginning, old woman, young woman, we are both right, we are both wrong, and we can't speak the same language, right? She's too emotional. He's not invested in the relationship, etc., etc. I say she and he, it could be also, and actually it's interesting because people tend to think, people who are not aware of attachment theory, they tend to think, oh yeah, avoidants are men and anxious are women. That's not true. 50% of my anxious clients are men. And again, if you look at polls, etc., you have almost the same 50-50 in terms of gender split. Insights, you start with insights. That's why I'm making those videos and release this knowledge is for you to get that insight. Then you have the tools, and the tools you know, I can give you a hammer, I can give you, you know, you have to do it. So what I would suggest you to do, if you really want to do the work, download the worksheet. It's totally free, by the way, in the description, and join me for the next video, breaking the anxious avoidant trap before it breaks you. If you're not subscribed, subscribe so you can be notified as soon as I release this video. And I'll see you next time. Take care.